Welcome to the Goldenrod Podcast, bringing you some of the latest and greatest Pokemon news and a few laughs along the way. I'm Ben, and as always, I'm joined by fellow Pokemon enthusiast Conor, but this time...
In person!
We're in the same room, and Lewis is here as well in the corner. Sat there like a naughty boy. But before we begin, you can jump around the podcast by using the timestamps in the description below. Conor, is this strange? Is this weird? We can basically touch one another. We both reach out. Almost. This is...
It's a strange experience. We've been doing this for, 6 months now?
Yes.
And then... When did we record the first...
Was it June? July? Are you on about the wedlock?
I'm talking about the wedlock. When did we do that?
Was that 2021?
Must have been. I feel like it was.
A long time ago.
And if you think you first reached out to me 2020.
Yeah. Was it during lockdown?
Was it during lockdown? Yeah.
I remember reaching out to you on Twitter and getting no response.
And getting no response and just thinking, oh, what a prick.
Yeah, I was because I reached out to do some content with you, and then because I saw your channel, your quality, and everything else, I was like, okay, I could see myself vibing with this person, and I never got a response back until
I came back and was like, yeah, sorry, I disappeared for a while.
I vanished.
I'm here again. Do you want to do some stuff? And you were like, no, I'm working with other people now.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
And during that time, what? You'd found British, you'd found Tommy, which weirdly brought everything together. Yeah. So it all worked out. It's fine. It worked out
in the end. And now look at us doing a podcast.
In your house.
In my house. It is strange. But did you have a good break over Christmas?
It was thoroughly enjoyable. Yes. Good. Nice and relaxed. I didn't do any work. I sat down yesterday to write a script for a video again and was like, oh, when it just takes you a while to get going back into it. You're like, it's fine, but it's good. It's written up. It's good. I'm looking forward to this one.
Good. I've also done nothing over Christmas, to be quite honest with you. I said I wanted to do some more content, and other than recording with British and a few other things, I haven't done anything. But it's been quite nice just to have that break, and it's quite nice actually that we managed to take a week off from the podcast as well, just to we still put an episode out there, which is fantastic. But it was just great just to have some time off to relax and everything else. But most people probably want to know what we're going to be talking about today.
Me included.
You included.
Me included.
You included. So, what we're going to be discussing is what we want to see from Pokemon in 2023. Because this goes live on the 6th, 7th, something like that. I've lost
Friday.
Friday.
It's
Wednesday today.
Monday was the first, right? I think.
I don't know. We're motioning to Louis. He had one job.
Today is the 4th.
Today's the 4th. Right,
fantastic. Okay. So, the 6th.
Right. Okay. So, we have... What do we want to see over the next 12 months from the Pokemon Company?
Well, DLC.
DLC. That's your number one thing.
That's the big one because, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The games aren't finished yet.
No, they're not.
The fact that, I still don't have my 3rd Legendary in there winds me up to no end. And, personal gripe. So...
Go on, yeah.
As a theorist, and I know other theorists who are out there as well who are dealing with the same issue, people have got it in their heads that there's no time travel in Scarlet and Violet.
Wait, what? Okay.
People are convinced there's no time travel in Scarlet and Violet. The time machine isn't real.
Okay.
It's an imagination machine. And it brings...
I've seen this, yes.
And it brings the Pokemon to life from imagination rather than through time.
Is this based on what Arvin says?
Ish, because he goes, how is that possible? Yeah. And it doesn't really make sense, but it's a paradox. And I'm still... Until proven otherwise, I'm still in the impression that, it's a paradox. Maybe these Pokemon only exist because they went to the future or came to the past kind of thing.
Okay.
So I need that answered. So I can either be, okay, fair enough, you were right, or I can go, shut up.
So I think it is a time machine, mainly because I can't imagine Game Freak pulling a 180 like that of, this is what it's been, this is what we said it was. Oh, no, actually, it's this. They're not the type of company that does those big twists in video games. And, it kind of takes away from the ending of that game.
Exactly, because where does the AI go if not to the future or past?
Just gets destroyed, I
just
guess.
Goes to paradise?
Yeah. So, funnily enough, I've replayed Scarlet and Violet, and I've actually took your advice that you mentioned about reading the books as you go down into the... And... I kind of wish I hadn't because those books do make it feel very much like the end game isn't finished.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
It's straight up not, because again, you get told about the disc Pokemon.
Yeah.
You get told about, these crystals. Like, these crystals are supposed to be the source of terrestrial Pokemon. They're supposed to be the source of the time machine. And they are, like, I was watching through the end scene yesterday, and they even start terrestrializing Turo and Sada.
They do, yeah.
So it's like, what is this energy? It's clearly coming from the third legendary, or so we assume.
Yeah.
But none of that's really been explained.
Does part of you feel a little bit robbed that will be
because
DLC?
It's going to cost me?
Yes.
That's what's annoyed me the most, because like you go back to, and somebody brought it up to me. It was like, oh, these are the kind of things that were always included in the third game anyway. And I'm like, yes, but Giratina was in Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah.
I could go and find Giratina and know that it was, like, I could read its Pokedex entry. I could get some lore about it, and then get the Distortion World in the third game and get its origin form. I'm okay with that. Holding it out completely to make me pay for it later feels rough.
So I think for me, the difference is that the original games, when you got a third version of that game, the original game still felt somewhat complete.
Yes.
The third one was almost like, okay, now we've had more time. This is how we want to change or re-experience it, or whatever they might decide to do. We're not getting that with this. It's not like we're going to get a third version. You are getting DLC for something that probably should have been addressed in the main game. Unfortunately,
in my opinion, it would be like keeping Eternatus out of Sword and Shield until the DLC.
Yeah,
it would have been a mistake.
Yeah,
and I feel like it is a mistake for Scarlet and Violet.
Mm-hmm. Do you think? I know the answers to this. With Legends Arceus, we got free DLC.
No shot. No shot.
No. I agree. I don't think we're getting that. In an ideal world, it would be okay. Here's some free DLC to tide you over, to address some of the issues, to address some of the missed content. Now that that's done and dusted, please give us your money, and we're going to see what comes after. We're going to release these pieces of DLC.
I mean, again, I'm still under the impression that before I buy DLC, I want to fix the game.
Yeah.
Do
you think that's happening, though, in 2023?
I really should.
Should, yeah.
It should. Like, from the very limited knowledge I have of it, it should be fixable.
Yeah.
Like, the problems with it. I just don't know if I can... And it's one of those hard ones where this is what I make content on, so I need it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want to keep feeding the machine that's not giving me what I deserve.
Yeah. I agree with you there, because I got the game as a digital version. Oh, I've never felt so robbed buying a game, to be quite honest with you, because like if I didn't create Pokemon content, I don't think I would have bought it on day one.
Yep.
I would have seen the issues in reviews and videos, and I probably would have held off on buying it, which I didn't, unfortunately. I needed to buy it. That's fine. But I'm of the mindset that, yes, there are certain things that I think do need to be fixed in this game before I consider buying
more
DLC.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Like, DLC for me is always one of those things where, to justify it, the main game is a complete experience, and then the DLC is always
more.
Yeah, if you want to experience more, you can pay for it, and this is what you get.
Yeah, I should be buying dessert. I shouldn't be buying the rest of my meal.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it is infuriating. So in terms of the DLC, we've kind of discussed that in a previous podcast. But do you think we're getting DLC this year, or just an announcement?
Interesting thought. I think it entirely depends. I don't know when Sword and Shield DLC came out. I feel like it was a year afterwards. Or we got the first release a year afterwards, and then the other one came...
Was it about the May or something like that?
Possibly.
About 6 months on, wasn't it? I think.
And then it was like another 6 months before we got Crown Tundra.
Yeah, because they did a staggered release, which I quite like that they did that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be okay with them doing it that way again, mainly because it gives you an opportunity, a reason to come back to the game.
Yep.
Because I do feel like this... Having completed this game and seeing all the articles online about this is what you can do in the post game, there's kind of not a lot to do in the post game outside of
the one big tournament,
and then going out and catching some of the Pokemon that you can't get. So the goldfish and all the other ones. So any excuse to get back into that game and experience this story a bit more, I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they handle
Agreed.
this, because they didn't, because Sword and Shield felt very much like a complete game. For better or worse, it felt like a complete game to me.
See, Sword and Shield has grown on me a lot over the years.
Agreed.
So I'm not as mad about it as like people were at the time. And I distinctly remember when it came out, like people were like, it's the worst thing in the world. And I was watching a playthrough of it and I was like, I might go buy a Switch to play this game, actually.
Yeah.
But I would love to see if they were going to do a free update like Legends Arceus. I want side quests.
Agreed.
Because you don't have to include anything else in the game.
Yeah.
You just have to give me stuff to actually do in what already exists.
They're just all dialogue options from NPCs. That can't be that difficult to implement. And just a bit of a spoiler for what we're going to do in the future. We're going to almost review Legends Arceus, aren't we?
Yeah.
And like, one of the things with Scarlet and Violet is, compared to Legends Arceus, it feels empty. I can't believe I'm saying that. But one of the things that did help to make that world feel lived in was the fact that you had all these NPCs that wanted your help with a variety of things. Like, surely that should be quite easy to implement.
Yeah.
And bring in and give people the option of, here's some free content just to tide you over. We acknowledge the issues with this game. Like, no one can say there isn't issues with Scarlet and Violet.
I think you'd be a fool not to at least acknowledge them. Whether they bother you or not is a different matter.
Yes.
But they are there.
Yes, yeah. And I think that's the key thing, is that, like, for me, I know that they do take me out of that experience. But I know my daughter doesn't care about them whatsoever. She doesn't acknowledge that the fact that the frame rate for some of these characters is almost robotic. And she's just in that game to enjoy it. So from Game Freak and Pokemon's perspective, if the majority of players aren't really that fussed about it, especially the younger demographic which the games are aimed at, why would they fix? I say fix in air quotes, like, why would they fix some of the issues that people don't really care about?
The thing is, I was over New Year's, I was up with a bunch of mates, and one of them was playing through Violet for the first time. And it was interesting because she's not a diehard Pokemon fan, but she enjoys the games and likes picking them up. But even she was playing through it going, oh, that's just dumb.
Really?
Oh, really? Ooh, grumble. Oh, that's nice. It's dumb. And it was outweighed very much on the negative side.
Yeah.
But you ask them and it's like, you still having fun with it? It's like, yeah, of course I am. It's Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it's almost a pass that we shouldn't be giving it.
Yeah.
But we do, because it's Pokemon.
Yes. Yeah. I completely agree with that. It's despite the grumbles that I have with the game, I still have fun playing it.
I still have a lot of fun playing it.
That's the infuriating part, because I'm almost like, keep going back to it. And they'll have the figures. They'll know how many online players they've got, how many trades, how many raids people are doing. And they'll know, okay, despite the issues of the game, we've still got a healthy
It's
player
still
base.
the fastest selling Switch game ever. So why bother?
Yeah, why bother? So in terms of the DLC, obviously we mentioned about what we want to see from it. Do you think they'll do it the same as they did with Sword and Shield? I.e., they announce it. It's two versions spread out with various content. You pay up front and then you get them. Do you think they'll be redoing that?
I imagine so.
Yeah.
We used to think that Game Freak followed a pattern, and we've realized over the recent years that that's just not the case.
No,
they can do whatever they want whenever they want. But we have no reason to expect that they won't do two different DLCs split apart.
So, do you think if it's a success, they'll do more? Because that was, to me, that was always the strange thing with Sword and Shield, that we got two within the first year, and then it was kind of felt empty. I always expected more.
Well, I think the thing is the dev team.
Yeah.
So they've got their two different teams. So and let's not mess around. Whatever team is supposed to be working on DLC now will be called back to be like, guys, you need to fix this game. It doesn't work. Or maybe they haven't, and that would make me really sad. But at some point they'll go, okay, the DLC is done. We're going to move you on to another project now.
Right.
Although, on the other hand as well, I'm under the impression that these games need to last 4 years, not just 3.
Well, that's
because I would never understand releasing a mainline game on the 29th anniversary.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
So maybe we'll get extra DLC. But again, with the fact that we had 3 mainline games in the last year.
Yeah, so we had BDSP,
Legends,
October, was it? Legends in February.
And
is that about right?
Yeah,
and then Scarlet and Violet in...
Or BDSP was in November.
Was it November?
Yeah, so it was the Christmas release last year.
Right, that was it, yes.
Or year before. Oh my God, 2023.
It's flying, it's going so fast. Yeah, so 3 mainline games in the space of
a year.
A year. That is too much.
Agreed.
Like from a development but also content perspective. But obviously the Game Freak have got to keep churning out these games, unfortunately. So if we're going with 3 main games over the space of a year, so obviously chances are we're getting something.
The DLC will cover one of those.
One of those. So do we think we're getting another Pokemon game
as a Christmas release?
As a Christmas release this year?
I will always sit here and go, God, I hope not.
Yeah. Because they will.
Because more Pokemon content, great, but there's no way they've had time. Like we know there's 2 teams at Game Freak.
Yeah.
We know they were working on Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet.
Mm-hmm.
That's like they've had a year to. They cannot have possibly made anything in a year.
No, definitely. I can't see how in the next 6 months we get an announcement of, okay, for the November we have whatever game it might be. I can't see a full release.
Like even if they outsource to another company again, what would try Ilka again?
Yeah,
they've only had a year.
Yeah,
so I hope not.
I agree. In an ideal world for me, all the Pokemon game content we see this year is just DLC. That I'd be happy with that. I really would. I don't want.
Would you be happy to still see DLC for Legends Arceus?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'd love a reason to go back to that game. Like I haven't touched it for about 2 months.
Yeah.
Now, but I will admit, playing Scarlet and Violet made me want to go back to Legends Arceus, not just to go, okay, right, I need a fresh perspective of this game now that I've seen what Scarlet and Violet was, because all the conversations at the time were,
it's not actually open world.
Yeah, which, and to be fair, I'll talk more about this when we eventually do.
I think Pokemon lends itself more to that kind of style.
What, like Legends Arceus, where it's not
Legends Arceus, where it's not open world.
Agreed.
Yeah,
so
because of the level scaling and stuff like that, it just doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't work. But also, what I like about Legends Arceus is that the biomes feel very distinct.
Yes,
like you get to go to all these different biomes, and they don't need to bleed into one another, which is part of the problem with Scarlet and Violet. Is that the areas that kind of bleed into one another, so going from like rolling grassy hills to a beach, don't feel natural, unfortunately. And that's part of the reason why that game feels like you've got beaches, you've got grassy hills, you've got the sea, and you've got the ice mountain. But like it doesn't feel like they flow naturally. Yeah. Whereas Legends Arceus gets around that.
Because it can separate them all out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even within it, you do have the really beautiful, like the coastline that does go up into the hills, and then you've got the volcano over on the side and stuff like that. And it all fits beautifully.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, agreed. Like I actually can't wait to go back and play Legends Arceus just to have that perspective of, okay, now that I know what has come after, because a lot of the conversations at the time were Legends Arceus isn't not finished, but it's almost like it's a proof of concept for what we'll see in Gen 9, which wasn't really the case.
No, not in the slightest.
No, unfortunately. So now it will be interesting to go back and experience that. Now, I would be more than happy to see more DLC for Legends Arceus. I don't think we're getting that this year, though. I think Legends Arceus is done and dusted, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think if they were going to do anything with it, they'd have done it by now.
Yes, agreed.
So, on the off chance, neither of us think we're going to get a game this year, but on the off chance we do, what do you think it would be?
Okay. So there's been a lot of rumors ever since Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee came out that
Let's Go Johto is coming.
But it's been how many years now?
Oh God, how
4,
old's
5?
the Switch?
6?
Because Let's Go was their first Switch game.
Yeah.
And I've only recently just started playing through it because I got it from a mate for Christmas kind of thing, and I played 2-player with them. So I've got no interest in actually playing through the full game, but I'll be the second person. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
interesting. I can see why like your daughter enjoys it.
Yes.
I can see why a lot of hardcore fans are like, not my Kanto. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I will still go back and play Fire Red if I want to play through Kanto.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Gorgeous looking game. Like, for me, it hit all the check boxes that I needed it to. It was revisiting Gen 1 in a new style of paint. The characters and the Pokemon look fantastic in the overworld. The 2-player experience, like the fact that I could play with my daughter playing through Kanto was fantastic. And like the age she was when she started playing it, the battle mechanics were a bit too complicated for her. So the fact that like catching was literally just throwing your Joy-Cons to get them was perfect. It was absolutely fantastic. Really enjoyed it. But I don't think it got the response they probably wanted to justify a sequel.
It didn't do Pokemon Go numbers.
Yes.
Which you've got to consider is probably what that game was aimed at, was to get a bunch of Pokemon Go fans in. And I don't think it had the turnover that it was expected to do.
Yeah. Because I think if it had got the numbers that they wanted, we would have already had
Agreed.
A sequel or a game or an announcement or something. I think unfortunately, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee are almost a once and done. Yeah. One and done, which is a shame
because there's a lot of good mechanics and ideas that come through that game, like the idea of like flying around on the Charizard and the Aerodactyl or running on the Arcanine. Yeah. Gorgeous. We've never seen that since.
No.
The catching mechanics maybe got developed a little bit more in Arceus. I definitely prefer the ones in Arceus over what we saw in Let's Go. But there's the style, the way it looks.
Yeah.
I think it strikes me very much as Wind Waker.
Yeah.
Where it's stylized and therefore will last longer than something that's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
The grass in that will always stand out to me more as not looking terrible than any of the grass in Legends Arceus or especially Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like,
but that's one of the things about Legends Arceus as well. I went back and played it. And I'm like, I don't know if the graphics are better, but it's got that watercolor feel to everything.
Yes.
So the style feels nicer. It feels more cohesive. Plus, when the textures meet each other, they don't go all pixely and messed up.
Have you had that, by the way? I'd like jumping off here. Have you had that in Scarlet and Violet where as you approach a wall, that like a rocky terrain,
the texture will just glitch? Yeah,
it shifts. Like it's. I only recently discovered that, and it proper threw me. I was like, "What is going on?"
No, it's the one I keep seeing is where you'll have like sand will meet a wall, or water will meet a wall, and like across the edge, it's almost like they've tried to fade the effect, but like with points. I don't like it.
It's bizarre. So, unfortunately, I would love to see another Let's Go game. I don't think we're getting one. Unfortunately, I would love to see. I actually kind of prefer. I would prefer to see Let's Go than the remakes, and I don't know if that's controversial.
Which remakes? What remakes of Unova?
Yeah.
Which assumedly is next.
But, that's obviously coming. But the remakes to me, I've always enjoyed the remakes. I like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Always, yeah.
Even the last ones.
Sorry, that's where I was. That's where my point was going to. I've enjoyed all of the remakes up until BDSP, and they dropped the ball massively to the point where, to be fair though, to be fair to them, a lot of people that I speak to that really enjoyed Gen 4 and that was their jumping on point, just do not like BDSP. For me, who never completed the original Diamond and Pearl, these are almost, okay, I don't need to play Diamond and Pearl because I've got the remakes. But I can understand people's frustration that these aren't remakes, so to speak.
See, for me, it stands up that, if I'm going to play through Kanto, I'll play Fire Red.
Yeah.
If I'm going to play through Johto, I'll play Heart Gold.
Yeah.
If I'm going to play through Hoenn, I'll happily play either.
Yes.
They are distinctly different games.
Yeah.
the Megas and all that kind of stuff adds a new value to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, but the originals are different enough that I'll happily play either.
Yeah.
I've never been the biggest fan of Gen 4.
No.
But the best game is Platinum.
Yeah. See, I never really played Platinum, so that's where I get hung up on. I'm happily playing BDSP rather than Gen 4, but I'm pretty sure if I played through Platinum, I would go, I can understand why BDSP are just lackluster in so many
It's just
ways.
missing too much.
Yeah. Yeah. They it's not a remake, unfortunately. It's a remaster of which is the
it's a remaster with some of the worst mechanics of the recent years thrown in there, like the affection mechanic.
Yeah.
I know you're back and forth on the affection mechanic. Okay. I don't mind it.
Yes.
It can be okay. I find it annoying that I don't have control over it.
Yes.
I think if it was specifically tied, like in X and Y, it was specifically tied to Pokemon and Me.
Yeah.
I can ignore it.
Yeah.
I can ignore it and I don't have to play it. But if you want that boost, you can add it in there. In Scarlet and Violet, I didn't realize the affection mechanic was even in there until I was in like the battle with Nemona and my thing survived on 1-8.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So the only time I've seen it is in the final
fight with Miraidon and Koraidon. Yeah. And it survives on 1 HP.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's due to the affection mechanic.
Right, okay.
It's not as bad because every time you throw your Pokemon out, they don't jump up and down 3 times.
Yeah.
And just make everything 500 times slower than it needs to be.
Yes. Yeah. Which is funny, actually, because I remember one of the conversations we had before Scarlet and Violet came out, and I remember you saying everything seems to have been sped up. And I agreed with you at the time, but it's only playing Scarlet and Violet. I'm like, I don't think it has been.
No.
It feels slower than ever. Wow.
It feels... It's faster than some other Pokemon games. But I think it falls down because we're, again, coming right off the back of Legends Arceus, where you would have your status condition animation, your attack animation, and the writing all come up at the same time. Who decides to make those all come up separately once again? It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, unfortunately. It's bizarre why it goes down, why they've chosen to go down that route again. It's typical Game Freak, with 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or usually 2 steps backwards, 1 step forward. So in terms of what else we think, so 2023, we think we're probably going to get DLC. We're probably not getting another mainline game because the DLC takes over from that. Don't think we're getting Let's Go.
You don't think we're getting Let's Go ever?
I don't think we're getting Let's Go again, unfortunately. Which is a shame because I do want to see another Let's Go game because I really enjoyed the last one, but I don't think we are. I don't think it got what, because like you said, like it had a lot going for it. It was Pokemon Go mechanics, a new a new Pokemon game on a new console for Pokemon. Like it should have had everything going for it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it just didn't have
it was slightly too different to the formula, I think, for a lot of people to pick it up.
Agreed.
That being said, if we were going to get a Let's Go game, it would almost guaranteed be Let's Go Johto. Because you've already got Kanto in that style, so it's easy enough to go back.
Yeah.
If we're not getting Let's Go Johto, the toss-up then is if we get another Legends game, do we get Legends Unova or Legends Johto? Because I've seen people wanting Legends Celebi.
I'd be happy with it. Like, if you had to do any Legends game, those are the 2 that I think lend themselves best to that style, because likely it's going to be in the past again, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's what we expect from a Legends game now.
Yes. And I think Johto works because of there's a lot of history in Johto.
There's a lot of history. There's also the connection with Sinnoh already stated.
Yes.
You've got the Sinjo ruins and stuff like that, which are already mentioned in Legends Arceus. You could maybe find out what happened to the Celestica people after they all disappeared and things like that. So it could almost work as a sequel to Legends Arceus quite easily. Plus the fact you've got Celebi in there, which means time travel is also open to you.
Yeah.
But I really want to see the original dragon.
Yeah, agreed. Like it has been something hanging over the Pokemon franchise, I feel, since they kind of introduced it in Gen 5, because there's a Pokemon that nobody knows what it looks like. Like it's stated, like it's not even like it's just a random bit of folklore that you find while exploring the game. it's part of the story. It is literally part of the backstory.
Kyurem is the husk of these two dragons that split apart due to two brothers who fought each other over the crown or something like that.
So one was about truth, one was about justice, ideals. That's it. And the dragon couldn't cope and just split. I'd love to go back and see another Legends game, because for me, like, especially, I can say this now that I've played Scarlet and Violet, Legends Arceus is almost the perfect Pokemon experience for me, with the exception of, I think it is missing battling.
Agreed.
I think if there was more battles in that game,
which I think Unova lends itself more to than Johto does.
Yes.
Johto, at least the impression that you always get from it is it's historically peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there's never been any stories of any great wars going on in Johto. The worst thing that ever happened is a tower burned down. And that was a natural disaster kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas Unova, there's already a war.
Yeah.
And because it's based on America, you could quite easily have Galar and now Paldea trying to influence it in the early years.
I like that.
You know, colonizing it and things like that. And I don't know if they'll ever go as far as, like, you know, native Unovans and things like that. But it'd be really interesting to see.
Yeah.
You know, we got the Celestica people. All right, what do the native Unovans look like? Why are they not around anymore? Things like that.
Well, it lends itself to having what we haven't really seen in Pokemon in a while, is two competing factions, which I think Hoenn kind of, like, Generation 3 kind of touched on that. I think it could have done a lot more, but I think it was, at the time, it was a Game Boy Advance game, so it was quite limited in terms of what they wanted to do. I'd probably like to see a bit more of that, of having two competing factions battling one another, and then you, in your role of...
Actually pick a side.
Which is another one of those things for Scarlet and Violet, is like the options where you get one of two options.
Do you want to feed it your sandwich?
Like,
but you may want to feed it your sandwich.
Yeah.
But you may want to feed it your sandwich. But you may want to feed it.
So I did the one with Nimona at the very end, where she's like, "Oh,
me, rival."
Yeah. I was like, "Oh, this is absolutely fantastic." So, like, Legends Arceus, the Legends format lends itself more to, okay, let's experiment on things. But it does almost feel like maybe that is what I don't know Legends numbers. I don't know how well.
I think it did pretty well.
So why can't we have it where, like, it's almost a cycle of Gen 9, Gen 10, Gen 11, Legends games, and remakes? Like, in almost you have that cycle, and DLC as well. So you've almost got 4 things there that you can do over the space of 4 years. Don't get me wrong. The team are already pushed and pulled and everything else.
But they're going to be regardless.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're going to make them work on something we like. That's
exactly. But the thing is, with DLC, that almost, I don't know how game development studios work, but for me with DLC, I'd imagine that's the least
taxing, because they've not got to build a new engine. They've not going to program anything into it. It's realistically just adding assets and story beats.
Ideally, which almost gives them then that breathing room that they desperately need. You can tell they desperately need more time for a lot of this stuff. So maybe that's the way that they plan it out. And then you then have your cycle, and you don't have random things where you get 3 games over the space of a year, which is just too much. Like, 1 game a year. And
let's not forget, Legends was pushed back. We were supposed to get that and BDSP at the same time, basically.
Really? That's strange. That's weird. Like, what gaming company has ever done that?
Well, they're technically 2 companies, though, aren't they?
Well, yeah, they are. But
unless you're talking about Nintendo, in which case I completely agree. It's
bizarre, because like you must know your audience and go, okay, we're aiming these at children.
They can afford one.
Yes. Rather than, okay, we'll do 2. Really, really bizarre how they decided to go down this route. And it does almost feel like Legends Arceus should have been where BDSP was, and BDSP honestly shouldn't have been released. Like,
I think people would have been fine with that. Honestly, I think if you turn around and went, no, you're not getting Gen 4 remakes, you're getting a Gen 4 reimagining. Yeah, it's still going to be, well, it's not going to be Sinnoh, but it's going to be the land you know.
Yeah.
But different.
Yeah.
Same, but different.
Yeah.
Which is all I really want from Pokemon anyway at this point.
That's it. In terms of what else we think we're going to get from 2023 then, you mentioned something before we started recording this podcast, Pokemon Sleep.
Yeah, we'd love to see that finally come out. You still don't really understand what Pokemon Sleep is. To be honest, nobody really does.
Okay.
It was a sleep app.
Okay.
That got announced, and then nobody ever heard about it again.
It's just died.
It's just disappeared into the ether.
Lewis is showing me Pokemon Sleep on the Wikipedia page. I like that logo.
Yeah, that's it. Logo. That logo is all we have.
That's all we have. Wow. Oh, announced in 2019.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'd love to see that game come out and see what that is.
I'd like to see that come out. Do we think there's going to be anything major for Pokemon Go? I know you're not a huge Pokemon Go player, but I'm just curious. Is there anything that you'd like to see this year that would make you go, oh, I'll take a look at that. I'll pick it back up.
Difficult one. I would love to see, personally, I'd love to see the remote raids come back.
Oh, yeah.
That would be the big one for me because I get why they did it during lockdown.
Yeah.
But it was such a good feature.
Yeah. Have you seen these like mega raids or not mega, like the whatever the mechanic is, whatever it's called now, is basically there's a big egg over 24 hours that has really powerful Pokemon in it. But I haven't done any of that because my main concern with Pokemon Go is that like I don't have a lot of friends that I can go out and do Pokemon Go with.
So you can go up to your nearest gym, but nobody else is going to be there and you can't beat it on your own.
Exactly. So every now and again, I might get an invitation to a raid from a friend, but typically there's only 3 or 4 of us. Like, I would love to see more community integration into Pokemon Go that makes you go, okay, there's...
UK side, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Especially in rural areas where it's an absolute nightmare to arrange anything. But I would love to see some more community integration of, okay, there's a raid going to be happening up there. I'm gonna sign up for it, or just give a value of, okay, there are 5 people that have said they might attend that. Or I'm more likely then to go, I'll go out my way, or I'll use it. I'll get one of the raids, raid passes that does allow you to do it from a distance. But the problem is now you're not getting them for free and you have to pay for them, which are...
And that's what I meant by bringing it back. If people were like, you can still do remote raids. Yeah, but you don't get them every single day anymore and things like that.
Basically, you have to have 100 coins, which is 2 days worth of a Pokemon in the gym.
Full gym, yeah.
So that isn't happening. For me, I think I'd like to find... With Pokemon Go, I think what I'd like to see in 2023, but I don't think it's going to happen, is Pokemon Go is great for introducing Pokemon that have hats and stuff like that. I'd love to see them in the main line games. If you can bring along like Pikachu with party hats or Slowpoke with 2022 glasses. Like, I'd love to see more of that. I don't think it'll happen, unfortunately, but I would love to see more.
Unlikely. Simply because you'd have to retexture them and remodel them and have all of them work with the same like facial expressions and stuff like that. I'd like to see it.
I'd like to see it as well.
It'd be really funny to see the next Pokemon World Championships with just a Blastoise with a little top hat on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd love that. That would be absolutely amazing.
Although, how would that work with terrestrialization?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah. How would
hats on hats.
Custom hats. Hats on hats, eh? Yeah, that would be interesting. What about Pokemon Unite for 2023? Do you think any big changes are coming? Because one thing they have done is they've changed the arena.
They had the big update with the Rayquaza, didn't they?
Yes.
Fascinating. Really interesting. Didn't bring me back.
No.
I'm not sure what would at this point.
No.
I will say, after our last talk about Unite, I know people may have clicked off already because we started talking about Unite and they don't like that. Spraggles went and did a full 0 to master rank.
Oh, right. Okay.
With 0 upgrades.
Wait, what?
With 0 upgrades. He didn't upgrade any of his items just to prove that it doesn't make as much of a difference as people think.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you're good at the game, maybe they don't make that much of a difference.
Maybe not.
What do I want to see? More Pokemon, as always. I'd love to see, because you've got lots of different arenas for the shorter games.
I like that. From a MOBA perspective, where most MOBAs are okay, the only thing you can change is the character because the arena is always the same. It is one of the highlights for me of Pokemon Unite. That and the shorter times as well, where you can just pick up and play and just have a quick bash. I quite like. But like you, I've not gone back to it since. I played the Rayquaza map, but other than that, I don't know what can they add to bring you back?
Honestly, I just don't think the game is built for me anymore because the fact is, if I log in now, I've got 15 minutes of collectibles I've got to go through, and I'm just at that point I'm like, nah. I can see the tactics working behind the scenes, and I'm just like, I don't like it. I
get that from my daughter where she's like, I need to log on to get my daily things. I'm like, you're not. Like, no, you're just flat out not, because I've been down that route.
It's called an addiction. Stop it.
Yes. I'm like, it's fine. You don't need to worry about it. Nothing's going to change. All you're doing is getting the free stuff that they want to give you to entice you back in. But I'm completely the same that when I went through a phase of, okay, I'm going to get back into this game, I just stopped collecting all the daily stuff. I was like, right, I don't need anything. I've got the Pokemon that I like. All the items that I need or use are upgraded. I'm just going to jump in and play it. So then when I think it was the Mew, and they were like, oh, you can get Mew for free if you do all this stuff. I just didn't bother because I just want to log in. I just want to play the game, have a bit of fun, and then I'm done and dusted. I
mean, it was like you can get Mew for free if you play 30 hours.
No, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. There's too much, unfortunately. In terms of other major
TCG switches over this year. So end of this month, we get Crown Zenith, which is the final Sword and Shield pack. This final Sword and Shield update.
Final one, wow.
And then right after that, and we'll probably get 3 this year.
Okay.
We're getting, obviously, Scarlet and Violet, where they're bringing back EX Pokemon, which is going to completely change the format, because it's interesting because they've kind of gone, they've still got massive health. Like, they've got health on par with like VMAX Pokemon, even though they're just like third stage. But you do have to evolve your Pokemon again, which is something that they're bringing back. So hopefully we'll see the end of the stage 1 or base dominance that we've had over the last couple of years. As far as I'm aware, we're not going to even see the full rotation of a lot of stuff until like next October.
Right. Okay.
I don't think Sword and Shield will
next October.
Next October.
Wow. Okay.
We'll see like all of Sword and Shield, because it's usually you have 6 sets in any one go, as far as I'm aware. Oh, I might be wrong on this one. I haven't sat down and looked at a calendar and done the maths, but it's either this October or next October we'll finally see the end of it.
I know that there is a lot, because by the time I get to, okay, I've got about half the cards I need for this.
It'll definitely be next October, because you're getting things like Zacian V-Star is coming out.
Oh, so we're still getting
this month kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
So they will give you at least a year and a half to play with that. So we're gonna see like this format is going to be very clunky. I feel like it's going to be clunky because you've got Vs, VMAXs, V-Stars, and EXs all competing against each other.
That's going to be interesting.
And don't get me wrong, VMAXs have kind of been pushed to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
Simply because V-Stars are kind of just as powerful but don't give up as much prizes.
Right.
And I think EXs are going to be on that same level, but you've also got to evolve a lot more into them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting format going forward. I'm looking forward to it nonetheless.
Yeah.
And now that live is fully live, I might consider jumping on it and actually playing on it, because I tried really hard to play in person.
Yeah.
But I did the thing of like, okay, I'll buy this deck and then I'll upgrade this deck with a bunch of other cards and spend about £100 or so on a full deck.
Wow.
All right, this is competitive. This is good.
Yeah.
The next week, a new cards drop that's completely made this one irrelevant. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Then I can spend another 50 quid to upgrade my deck to keep it more. Oh no, wait, Lugia is out now, and
gets a bit pricey.
That's the only deck you can play. Oh, okay.
See, I
can't keep up.
I play with my daughter sometimes, but we just have the bog standard sets that you buy, where actually you don't need to change and update them, because as long as you've got 2 that are relatively
theme decks.
The theme decks, as long as they're relatively like matched, it really doesn't matter as long as one of you doesn't have like an obvious advantage with weaknesses, for example. But yeah, live. Do you think live will become the de facto thing in 2023, and they'll move away from?
In theory, that's their plan.
Right. Okay. Have you played it yet live?
I have. Yeah. Lewis downloaded it, so I played it a couple of times on his. It's not as bad as I think a lot of people were making it out to be.
Okay.
Well, I'll rephrase that. It's improved from when it first came out.
Okay. Right. And it is an improvement on the previous version, which is okay, right? You're looking at me. Oh no,
I'm not sure on that one.
Is it just a face paint?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, right.
Because like it's Pokemon, like it's Pokemon TCG. At the end of the day, it's not like there's going to be massive mechanic changes. It was always just a facelift.
Yeah.
I don't think they lifted it anywhere near as good as Hearthstone or Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel or anything, or MTG Arena. It doesn't look anywhere near as good as any of those.
No.
Does it look better than what we already had? Not sure.
Right. Okay.
I'm not a fan of like how a lot of the animations and stuff. You like draw a new hand of cards, and it's like, oh, we're going to flash all these up on screen, and they're all going to jiggle around, and then they're going to go into your hand, and your hand like doesn't even cover the full bottom of the screen. You can't see all of your hand at once. You've got to scroll through your hand.
Oh, that's weird.
And I'm just, and then they'll do silly little things like, if you've got 3 energy in hands, it will show you the energy and then a little number 3. And I'm like, just show me the cards.
Yeah. So part of me thinks, so is this available for mobile yet or tablet?
Yes.
So that almost.
But you play vertically.
Wait, what?
You play vertically.
Oh, okay.
On tablet.
Oh, no, I don't.
And don't get me wrong, if you play it horizontally, like, there's not a lot going on either side. It's a lot of dead space, but it still feels wrong.
Yeah.
There's no pets. Why is there no pets in a TCG arena game?
I don't, especially Pokemon.
Yeah,
it just lends itself naturally to it.
Give me my Pikachu, give me my Eevee as standard, and then let me unlock everything and let them have hats or special power-ups or whatever else.
It's been a long time since I played Hearthstone, but for me, that was almost the go-to card.
Well, that's what everything's been trying to compare itself to and build itself around ever since.
Right, okay. Which just makes the most sense, because like what I loved about that is just the arenas were always like these quirky arena designs, so that even when you were sat there going, okay, my opponent's like obviously scrolling through their cards, you could still like tap on things and break things and do things like that. That's the kind of experience that surely we should have for Pokemon, but no.
Denied.
Obviously, we're not getting anything fancy.
But in their defense, they don't have microtransactions. Yes. So there's not as much money flowing into the game to make those kind of things worth it.
I mean, credit where credit's due, that like Pokemon TCG Online could have been stuffed full of microtransactions, but it feels very much that like the physical buying physical cards is almost the de facto experience, and the online version is just an addition of that, rather than okay, well, you can just spend all your money on virtual cards that you will never be able to hold.
And if you do want to do that, then you can buy secondhand, just the code cards kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I know a lot of people do just because it's cheaper.
Yeah. Well, because I know there are people that only want the physical cards, so the digital ones are almost, if I can get a little bit of cash on eBay or something else for this card that I'm never going to use. Fun fact, in one of my tubs down here, I have something like 500 of those cards that I know, Lucy's face looking at me, that at some point I need to do something with these cards. I've just turned the podcast into that, just opening up loads of packs. One day I need to do them. Anything else that you want to see from Pokemon in 2023?
What else is there? I'm trying to...
Plushies. Is there any plushies that you really want?
I've got my big Arcanine now, so
that thing's beautiful.
I'm kind of set.
Okay, you're quite happy with that. I want to see a massive Meganium plushie.
Of course you do.
I'd love that. Just so I could have it up there on me shelves. I'd be quite happy with that.
Or Big Mabostiff.
Big Mabostiff, yeah. Because we haven't got any Gen 9 plushies or anything yet, have we?
You got the starters, the 3 starters.
3 starters, and that's it. Oh, yeah, because I've seen a photo of it where I think they're all pretty much sold out except for Quaxley. There's just a shitload of Quaxley, which is a shame because Quaxley's so underrated.
Quaxley is fine. Its evolutions are not.
Oh, I love its evolutions.
Oh, really?
I love its evolutions.
You like Sassy Duck?
I do love the dancing Sassy Duck.
Oh, it makes me uncomfortable.
Does it?
Oh, I don't like it.
So, is it the hips?
It's there's so many Pokemon in this most recent game that just have ass.
I can see that. I can understand that.
I didn't. Like, the duck is the worst.
Yeah, I can see that.
But we were even playing the other day, and Tauros has a well-defined butt cheeks.
Does it?
And I'm like, why is that there?
I've never noticed that. To be fair though, I have been having fun with the camera because of the content that I'm doing with British. Like, there was one battle where it was like, okay, now we're fighting, and I just remember seeing him go, "What is that photo?" And I've just found a Luxray and just taken a picture of its bum as my profile photo. I'm like, how can I not? But that doesn't have a well-defined bum.
Sad.
No, I know. I really do like Quaxley's fully evolved form.
It's better with the water feather things that
its
got.
Middle one feels like it's missing something, doesn't it?
I don't see its middle one. Feels really weird to me because it's got like shoes on, but those are also its feet.
I've not noticed that.
Oh yeah, it's got like a little slit out of its feet. Don't like it.
Whereas Fuecoco's evolution line, like for me,
I don't like its middle line.
The whole thing just goes to pot for me.
Oh, you reckon?
I love Fuecoco was my
go-to.
That was my go-to. That was my start, and I was well looking forward to seeing where that evolution went. And I remember seeing the middle evolution, just thinking, what have they done to this mon? Like, I get where they were going. I don't think it was executed.
Because it's like sombreros aren't Spanish.
No, you are right there. Yeah, no, you are right. Actually, yeah.
But it's not a sombrero. It's an egg.
Yeah,
but the egg comes out of nowhere. There was no hint to the fact that there was the flame bird in there to begin.
Yeah. For me, there's almost like Fuecoco and Scovillain's evolution lines. There should have been an amalgamation of them. You know, the peppers.
Yeah.
Like that's where there should have been a merger of something for them. It just feels really weird. And then I know you were a huge fan of is it
Masquerada? Yeah, it's grown on me. I think it's probably the best of the three now.
Okay.
Its middle evolution, I think, is still the standout of the middle evolutions. The cat is Sprigato.
That's the one. I think.
Yeah, is the standout. I think it looks the best. I don't know. I'm a fan of Danny DeVito Crocodile.
Yeah. Okay.
Masquerada, I think that's its name, is Meowscarada. There you go. That's me being told. Is slightly behind that, and then Duck is way down.
Duck's way down. Oh, that's a shame. That is a shame.
It would be cool to see them do some plushies to do with terrestrialization and stuff.
That would be cool if they could pull that off. Because, like, especially the hats. Like, why not just make hats that you can wear?
Ooh.
Like literally just a hat that you just pop on.
To be fair, I don't like the hats, but I would wear one.
Yeah, like the ground type. I'd happily wear that one. I love the ground type Terran.
Isn't it just like half a world?
Half a world. But it's the colour of it. That's the one that stands out to me. Absolutely love that. Yeah, Terra type hats.
Terra type hats would be very, very cool. They do have a bunch of like, because they have a chess set.
Oh, have they?
They've got a really nice chess set, and it'd be kind of cool to see like cut figures of the hats.
Yeah.
So you've got like the light bulbs being all your pawns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Although there's 18 types and nowhere near that many chess pieces. But
complicated, wouldn't it? Trying to keep track of which one's which. But yeah, like
or figures. Figures is probably the best way forward. Yeah. Is like the getting all those angles and stuff on that on the hard plastic would look great.
Different merch in 2023 is kind of like we've done plushies to death. Mm-hmm. Like that is the go-to.
Well, they've started going above and beyond with the figures. Have you seen a lot of the like? They did a Lapras one. Yeah. Where you've got Lapras in the water, there's a big wave crashing over it, there's a bunch of different Pokemon under the water, there's a bunch on top of it and stuff like that. Like it's stunning. Stunning some of the stuff they've come out with. They did a whole like Gengar, Ghastly Haunter all being stacked on top of each other.
Wow.
Like some of those are great and I'd love to see more of those.
different merch. That's what we'd like to see in 2023 then.
More posters as well.
Yeah, posters is a strange one, isn't it? You'd think you'd think they'd be quite
common,
cheap to produce as well, but then a massive markup because it's Pokemon. Like, why do we not get more of that? I guess. Yeah. It is weird because a lot of the merch doesn't tend to fall on Pokemon. It's stuff that other people create on like Etsy and stuff like that. It's bizarre that is the situation that we're in. I don't think I've got anything else that I'd like to see in 2023.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head now.
I could mention Masters, but Masters just kind of does its own thing and just has a churn.
Well, we've finally seen Ash fight Red, right? What else is there?
Well, yeah. What else is there? I don't quite know. Pokemon anime. Surely that starts this year, right?
It must. Well, in Japan.
In Japan, yes.
So the Scarlet and Violet anime will begin, and we'll hear how good it is before we see it.
Yeah, it's always because like we're watching Master Journeys, right? And the next one is it Ultra?
Ultimate Journeys.
Ultimate Journeys.
Because it's not Ultra, because that'd be too easy.
That would be too easy. So Ultimate Journeys. Is any of that available in the UK at the moment?
It's on Pop.
Oh, right.
It's on Pop TV. So once it finishes airing on that, it'll be accessible on Netflix.
Right, okay. So is it all available in the UK, even like the recent, like the ending of that series?
No, the ending of the series.
So that's still
I don't
Japanese
think
only.
we've had the Masters 8 yet.
Right, okay.
On Pop TV. I don't think we've made it that far.
Wow, okay.
This is the thing. We're like 6 months behind, which is why I was really annoyed when they went out of their way to announce how it ended. It's
yeah.
Guys, come on.
I tried to avoid that.
But I understand why they did it now because
they had to.
It's ending.
They kind of they wrote themselves into a corner there where how do you announce that Ash isn't going to be the main protagonist moving forward without explaining why that's the decision that they've made?
I mean, I felt really bad because I just heard the news that Ash was leaving. I was around my mate's house. Their daughter watches Pokemon and is really into it. And I was like, oh no, sad news. Ash is leaving. She was like, oh no, really? I was like, yeah, here's the trailer that they're showing, like, he's leaving. And of course, in that, Gary turns around and goes, now that you're the champion. I'm like, no!
Yeah. It's infuriating where, I managed to stay away from that news for as long as I could, but it got to the point where it was everywhere. Yeah. Like, and just doing the podcast, like, even on my phone, it was popping up as news articles on different, on like Google Chrome's just home feed. So I didn't have a chance. I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. So that's everything that we want to see in 2023?
At least everything I can think of at the top of my head.
We'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Tell you what I really want to see, okay?
Very
I want to see. I am. Because this should have happened ages ago.
Yeah.
I want to see Game Boy Color, DS, emulation come to the freaking Switch. What? And I want to have it integrated with Stadium.
And home.
Yeah. And have it all included on the expansion pass for free.
Can I just say, that is really weird because they can make so much money from that.
And they just choose not to.
And the only thing the only reasons I can think of is they just cannot get the emulators to work how they want. Like, there's a communication error between the technology just isn't there, which blows my mind because we can emulate all these things on a PC. But the other thing is, it's a bit like when Disney removed all the videos from sale because eventually they wanted to bring out the DVDs and they knew that, okay, if we're selling videos up until the DVD release, people aren't going to buy the DVDs because they've still got it on video. So what they did is they removed them all from sale so that eventually when the DVDs came out, there was suddenly a clamor of people going, I'm going to buy this DVD because I haven't been able to get a hold of it. So where they do something with...
But is the DS store not closed now?
I don't know.
Like, you can't add... I'm pretty sure you can't add money to it anymore.
Right, okay.
So there's no way of buying those original games now.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. I just don't understand why... Because they would make an absolute killing, and it would probably allow them to buy themselves a bit of time as well of, okay, there's no new Pokemon game coming out this year.
But here's the 30 from the previous years.
Exactly. Buy them a bit
buy
of
them
time.
all again, please, for 40 quid.
Well, that's it. People will buy them. People will buy them. That's exactly it. And the reason I know people will buy them is A, because it's Pokemon, but also you only have to go into secondhand game stores to see that, Pokemon Black and White, a secondhand version.
70 quid.
70 odd quid.
Yeah.
Like, if you can get a digital version for £30, which they would sell for £30, let's be honest with you, that
Instantly.
people would buy them and they would want £30 for them. Like, why are they not doing this? Bizarre. I would love to see it, though.
And again, it wound me up that Stadium came out, and they're like, you can now play Stadium on the Switch with rental teams only.
Yeah, that's weird.
There's no integration with Red and Blue.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that does actually blow my mind that is the
I don't even think it's possible. I literally don't think that game is possible with rental teams.
I'm trying to remember back when I was a kid.
I tried once before, not as a kid either, as like a grown man.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it.
No.
So, yeah, not happy with that. I want to see those games. The other thing, and this is a long shot.
Okay.
But I'll always bring it up as something I want to see from Pokemon, is I want them to just accept fan games and modding.
Yeah.
I want them to be like, all right, that's a thing you guys do.
Yeah.
Okay, you have our support.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't make money from it.
Yeah. Well, we've seen it with Sega, like, and Sonic. Like, they are... It's happening.
It's weird that that's my gold standard now. It's Sonic.
Sonic and Sega. Like, this company that...
died 20 years ago.
Exactly. Like, to the point where I only found this out recently. I can't remember if we've spoken about this.
I think so, yeah.
It was one of the Sonic games basically got made into... Mania, that's it. Got made into an official... Like, I've got it on the Switch. My daughter's bought it on the Switch. Like, why is that not a thing with
Pokemon? Yeah.
Bizarre.
And again, it's people will always... Okay, I'll rephrase that. The vast majority of people will buy rather than download if it's easier.
Agreed. Yes. I absolutely agree with you. Like, a lot of the... So, for our YouTube content, we do have to get a hold of games and play them, usually on emulators.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason is because it is so much easier than, okay, right, how do I get a game onto a 3DS to then connect it to...
Or even the Switch games. I need a first-generation Switch.
Yes.
So that I can mod it.
Yeah.
So that I can dump all my files and things like that. And it's like, okay.
And before people shout at us, like, all the games that I play, I own. Like, so it's
which is still technically not okay.
Still technically not okay for whatever reason. So, legal nonsense and all that kind of stuff. But
it's now illegal to share your Netflix password. So, who cares?
Who cares? But yeah, I would love to see them go, okay, modding and these fan-made games are a thing. This is how we are going to handle that moving forward, which I don't think we'll ever get, because
I just think it would be so simple if they just had an emulation system set up, which again they could include with the expansion pass, which would make me buy the expansion pass for once, because there's still no need to. Have all the base games available on there, like for purchase. Sure, you can make me buy those, but they're then accessible on my SD card, and then I can put my SD card into my PC. Move mod files onto there in a special little folder, so it's as simple as possible.
Yeah, simple as possible.
You move it into a mod folder, and then you boot it up, and it goes, which one do you want to play?
Yeah, exactly. Done. And you know what? And
considering most of those run off Fire Red anyway.
They do. A load of them do. But if they are that worried, just make it so that it's locked down, so that you can't then transfer those Pokemon into modern day games.
Yeah.
There you go. Done, dusted. Like, it's not impacting on the current meta and competitive scene either.
You put a tick box. Yes, I wish to mod my game. Okay, you no longer have access to get anything out of here.
Yeah, you can't online. Basically, it just locks down online. Like, you cannot physically get those Pokemon out to that game. So,
I'd still love to see online with other modded people.
I get that.
Because then you get randomized soul links and stuff like that, and on official hardware.
That'd be the dream, wouldn't it?
And I feel like I'm not asking too much for that.
I don't think we are, but
it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen. Right, let's move on to our Pokemon Master Journeys weekly discussion.
couple of good episodes here.
Couple of good episodes. So the first one. So I've just realized, like, when you do it, when we do it over Discord, do you have notes or do you just go off your memory?
No, I just go off my head. I usually watch it like the night before though.
Okay. See, normally because of
you'll like record the podcast and then go watch the ones for next week.
I have to because I cannot physically watch them 3 days before the podcast. So I have to have notes just to kind of remind myself
what it's about,
what is going on. Although these ones are quite fresh in my head because I did manage to watch them yesterday. So the first one, episode 31, Night and Day. So this is the Umbreon and Espeon episode. It's based in Johto. So
I assume it's in Johto.
I think they mention it's in Johto.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm pretty confident they mentioned that they're going to Johto from what I remember.
It makes sense. Like, again, I was looking at it going, that's a Johto Pokemon. Yeah. We must be in Johto somewhere.
Yeah, even the bad guy's team, he uses like,
Ariados, Ursaring, and Noctowl.
Noctowl, that's the one. What? So, just to kind of set the scene for this episode, they're over in Johto. Chloe happens to bump into her doppelganger, which really took me out of that episode. I was really confused. Like, because for me, it's like, it's almost like, okay, you go to this area to have this story. Surely if you met someone who was basically your twin, that would be the story, right? Not just okay, this is how we get around the kidnapping that happens. Yeah,
it's a contrivance. And the worst thing is, as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, we're either going to do like Prince and the Pauper, where they're going to switch.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make any sense because Chloe wouldn't take over this castle. That makes no sense for the story.
No.
So I was like, and then she does the backstory of like, oh, yes, my great-grandfather's younger brother tried to take over the castle and fought him on this day, and it was Umbreon and Espeon that saved him. And like, all right, okay, so somebody's going to try and take Chloe.
Yeah.
Because she's, and it's when she's walking out, because they do the thing and they switch the clothes and they look the exact same and nobody can tell them different. And she's walking down, she's like, oh no, I'm still wearing Soleil's clothes. I'm like, of course you are.
Yeah.
And then immediately just kidnapped.
There's just a shadowy figure. And we know exactly where this story is going. So Chloe gets kidnapped by, I can't remember the bloke's.
Oh, Eluna or something?
Eluna. I've got it written down somewhere. Elunis. So it's Elunis and Soleil, which basically means sun and moon or some variation of sun and moon. So he kidnaps her to then turn up to go, okay, I'm going to be the new liege of this castle or whatever it is. Only for the confusion then of, oh, right, well, I kidnapped you, but
You're here.
And then he confronts her, and we obviously have a Pokemon battle with Espeon and Umbreon. And once again, we get to see Eevee's ability.
Which they seem to confuse every time they bring it back. Because she sits there and goes, oh yeah, so Eevee can copy the moves of its evolved forms. I'm like, no. You were copying Piplup a week ago.
Yeah. It is weird, isn't it, how they... It feels like... The more I've seen of this Eevee is it's more, how do we get around this plot point of, okay, it
doesn't evolve.
It doesn't evolve. Okay, so how do we keep it relevant? Oh, well, this is its ability that it can do moves of other Pokemon. But like you say, it isn't just evolutions. It's whatever Pokemon we need it to copy to progress the story or wrap up the story.
And it goes back and forth. Sometimes they'll say, oh, it's using the move Mimic.
Yes.
And then other times they're like, oh, it's Eevee's special power. It's like, well, which one is it?
Yeah, it does feel very much like that. Like, there's a couple of instances where it does it here as well.
Yeah, uses Reflect, uses Dark Pulse.
Yeah, but those Pokemon aren't using those moves. Like with the Piplup, it used the same move at the same time, from what I remember.
It watched the Espeon use Reflect, and it watched the Umbreon use Dark Pulse, and then was like, oh, you want to use that move again? No, I'll do it this time.
Yeah. Anyway, the Eevee, I want to see where this is going. I
don't think it's going anywhere.
No.
Do you know what? That's what upsets me the most, is I feel like it's just not going to go anywhere. We're going to see all the evolutions, and it's going to be like, oh, it still wants to stay in Eevee. Okay,
exactly.
Fine.
Which is the annoying thing, is like the first few times you see it, you're like, they're setting something up here. Something is going to happen as a result of this.
If it doesn't G-Max, I'm going to be really upset.
Do you think that's where we're going with?
I think that's the only way it can go. Like, it's
good point, actually. Yeah,
it's the Galar series. Technically, not really.
Yeah.
it doesn't want to evolve like the partner Pokemon from Let's Go or something. Mm-hmm. So let it G-Max.
Yeah, let it G-Max. Let's see that. But like, how does that happen though? Because
Chloe's never getting a Dynamax ring. It's never happening.
And Chloe's not a fighter anyway, is she? Like, that's not her.
No, actively runs away from it.
Yeah, pretty much. So I don't quite know. I do want to see where this is going to go. The episode as a whole, like, I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, I read it like the moment everything happened. I was like, okay, this is where we're going.
This is where we're going. I mean, fair play to them though. It feels like Johto.
Yes.
Like it's like the moment you are there, you suddenly feel, oh, I'm definitely in a different region now, aren't I? I'm definitely in Johto, which absolutely love that, to be quite honest with you. And it's always a good excuse to go back to Johto, and it was great to be able to see Umbreon and Espeon as well.
Doing and they work together, and it's really nice.
Yes.
And I think there's some nice animation in the episode.
Yeah.
I will say though, I'm starting to notice a lot more now that they're cutting corners in places.
Agreed. Yes.
There are just some shots where they'll just hard cut rather than animate the in between.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, okay. We know a couple of weeks ago that we had one of the animation directors come out and say, guys, we're sorry. There's just not any time. We've been working so hard, so fast for so long that there's been a dip in quality, and we're really sorry for that. We might be starting to see.
I think we are.
That come into effect now.
Yeah. Because when that news broke for us, we were that far behind that, like, we were still seeing like these amazing fight sequences and
there still are
animations.
some. Again, when we were with Dawn, that fight, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was against Team Rocket.
Yeah.
That looked amazing. And there was some, I can't remember if it's this episode or the next one, there's some shots in here where it's like, wow, that's stunning. And then it's immediately followed up by a really weird cut or a really odd piece of missed animation. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we are starting to see a bit more of that. So it'd be interesting to see if the quality does dip more the more we go on with this series. But I almost feel like I kind of, and I haven't seen the episode, so I don't know, but it almost feels like, okay, this was maybe a necessary evil, knowing that the end of this series they would need to spend more time on. So the ones before it, they've kind of had to cut corners.
I think realistically, the series could have done with just not being weekly.
Agreed.
Like not even that it shouldn't have come out weekly. It shouldn't come out weekly all year.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
you know, there's so much filler that we've noticed over like the last 6 months of watching this that it's like you could have got rid of those episodes and saved the time, saved the money, and put it towards actually making something good.
Yeah,
not that it's not good, but something fantastic kind of thing.
I agree. I think one thing I noticed in this episode is that like Ash and Go are almost they are the central characters,
but they're kind of not involved. They're tag-alongs, in this.
Yeah, especially in Chloe's episodes. Like, I can understand having Ash there because Ash is the main character, but Go really didn't need to be in this story. Like, just have Go drop out. If you're gonna have more Chloe episodes, which I'm fine with because I really do enjoy. I probably enjoy her story more than Go's at the moment. But I'd happily go. Yeah, let's drop Go out for a bit and just have Chloe with Ash supporting.
I think at this point, they could quite easily... Like, there's no need for all three of them to be there at all. Agreed. But you could have easily gone, well, okay, Chloe's going to Johto. Go's going to do...
Oh, yeah.
Wherever he goes on the next episode.
Thing. Yeah.
You could have set all that up at the start and then disappeared and everybody's separate. And it's fine because we know over the next course of the next 3 episodes, they're all doing their own thing. And then, if they need... to all be together, then we bring them back.
Yeah.
But start separating them out. And I think we see that in Ultimate Journeys. I think we'll start seeing them separate out a little bit more and be more independent.
Okay.
But they just feel superfluous. They just don't need to be there at all.
No.
It was especially noticeable in the next one. Ash is not relevant to the next one.
Trial on a golden scale. So straight off the bat, we're revisiting the Alolan Ninetales, and there's a bit of backstory about making sure that the
hunters don't find it again. And Go gets to... I quite like this. Go gets to choose which one of the 3 missions, tasks that he wants to undertake. And he chooses, to be quite honest with you,
probably one of the more difficult ones of trying to
One of the more impossible ones, I'd say. Like, he gets very lucky.
Yes, like golden scales from a Volcarona. And
so did you see the twist coming?
What was the twist?
Why it's golden.
Oh, because it's shiny.
Yeah.
No, I didn't, actually. Like, because my first thought watching this, because I haven't seen Volcarona in so long, sat there going, Volcarona's red.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gold. So it was only then during the episode when it does evolve and you see it and I'm like, that's a shiny variant. Like, so no, I didn't see the twist.
No, see, I kind of, as soon as, because they say at the beginning, they're like, oh, maybe it's because its scales burn. That's what makes them gold. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure you're talking about the shiny. Is Go going to catch a shiny in this episode? How are they just going to find a random shiny Volcarona?
Yeah.
Come on.
I looked this up afterwards on the Pokemon website to go, because I was, at this point, I was thinking, okay, have we ever seen a golden Volcarona? Is this a thing? And outside of this episode,
no.
Nothing.
No.
Absolutely
and Volcarona is a really rare Pokemon as it is anyway. So to then go, well, we want a shiny one as well.
Go hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
Like, he really did. The question I have is, like, I'm really interested in this Team Mew subplot. I really want to see where that is going. But I don't see how these tasks tie in with it. Does that make sense? I get why they need to test him. Completely on board with that. But it almost feels like, as a company, you would, or a project, you would go, okay, these are the things that we need to do anyway. Let's give Go some of the more junior ones, or the things that actually it doesn't matter if he isn't up to the task, because we can then send in. Like, I don't see how getting golden scales contributes to the overall.
So again, the justification for it was Mew is the ancestor of all Pokemon, therefore all Pokemon lead us back to Mew.
Right.
So we investigate all mysteries to find the most mysterious Pokemon. I don't buy it.
No.
But that was the justification for it.
Right.
Also, we get to find out that the blue-haired one, I don't know their names.
I can't remember the names.
There's the blue-haired one and the red-haired one. They both have Urshifu.
Yes. That was, which I didn't notice the difference. Like, I know there's a difference.
One stands like this, and the other one stands like this.
Is that the only difference? Like,
basically, there's a typing difference.
Yeah, there's a typing difference. But the models look the same, right?
I don't think the fur line's any differently, or maybe the headband is slightly different.
Maybe that's
But
what
no,
it
as far as I'm aware, it's mostly just their stance that you tell them.
Because when they brought out the second one, because we'd seen the red hairs bloat Urshifu earlier on the season. So when it brought out the second one, I was like, I know they're different, but I can't tell you why they're different. I know they've got different styles and all that, and different typings, but I just couldn't. Like, I do remember just thinking that
if they were both standing neutrally, I'd never know.
No, you wouldn't. No, and that's the thing. I was like, surely they should look a little bit different. But anyway, so one thing I did like about this is they go to Univers. They're in these mines. Inteleon is in its element. It's good to see it finally get to where because it always wanted to be an Inteleon from when it was Sobble, then it was Drizzile, and it was just wasn't happy about being a Drizzile. So seeing it in its element, being able to run down the mines, and it's like shooting water at everything and fighting these rug and rollers. Absolutely loved that. It was good to see Inteleon like have its moment of the Pokemon it's always wanted to be. Quite like that. The Pokemon Hunter, when he rocked up, like,
you knew immediately. And he
like,
even has like the glint in the eye, and I'm pretty sure Go picks up on it. He's
he does.
Like, yeah, okay, sure, you can come with us, I guess.
So Ash is completely on board with this person coming along, this stranger. Whereas Go, I've even got a note here, like, Go doesn't trust him. He's got a glint in his eye. And guess what? Within 3 minutes, we find out he's correct. Like,
oh, I'm going to steal these eggs.
Yeah, we can't trust this guy.
They do a good job of making Larvesta seem powerful.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, it would burn down that mine. Yeah. It was ridiculous. Like, just... And it kind of brings us on to one of the notes I've got is that, like, Go is trying to stop these Pokemon from using Flamethrower and just burning down the mine. And his plan is literally just to go, Larvesta, please stop. And what's even more annoying is it works. Like, it's just... I'm like, come on. Like, find another way around this situation other than just trying to talk a Pokemon, this creature.
Yeah, where's your Pokemon with sleep powder? Because that was the whole point of the mission as well, was use your Pokemon to overcome the obstacles.
Yeah.
And he kind of fails.
Yeah, he uses the Inteleon against the Roggenrola to get down to the mines. He uses
which he fails because he has to run away because too many Roggenrolas show up.
Doesn't he? Yeah.
He uses Inteleon again to switch the tracks, which is good. I like that use.
Yeah.
He uses Cinderace to do something.
Something, probably kick something. Probably has a ball.
Yeah,
it turns into a fireball.
He shoots a fireball somewhere at something.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And then, he doesn't use any other Pokemon. It's like, okay, you couldn't have thought of anything here?
Yeah, I feel like there should have been a better story in this.
Yeah.
Like...
And he doesn't catch the Larvesta. What's that about?
Yeah, I know, right. He catches one of the Roggenrolas, but he doesn't catch the Larvesta, which, those old things...
he uses the Cinderace to take down the Ferrothorn.
Oh, yeah, because he catches a Ferrothorn as well, doesn't
Ferrothorn.
Is that how
it winds me up every time
Ferrothorn.
Yeah, not Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn.
Oh, that's weird. I don't like that. I don't
like it either.
No, that's weird.
But it keeps coming up every time I watch this episode. I'm like, ugh.
So, as we already mentioned, one of the Larvesta evolves into a Golden Volcarona,
which is ridiculous, because there wasn't already a Golden Volcarona.
Yeah, so
where's the myth come from?
I don't know. This whole... have they... I know they haven't, but this whole thing screams to me of...
Set up
to fail. Because there is no way... 99 times out of 100, this ain't happening.
Yeah.
You are not finding a Volcarona that's a shiny, let alone one that has to evolve into a Volcarona. That isn't happening. So he gets extremely lucky.
Because they start the episode off, they go and find the Golden Palace that they apparently broke into when they got Golurk, and I was like, oh, maybe Golden Volcarona is in there. No. It just happens to be somewhere else in Unova, and he gets very, very lucky.
Yeah, because they even mention about they're going to Unova's desert resorts. It's like, okay, great. Doesn't feel like that's where they go.
No.
It doesn't feel like they're in the Unova. It doesn't feel like they're in desert resort. It just feels like they've stumbled upon a mine. You could have had this mine anywhere. Yeah,
because they're like, oh, the volcano erupted and throughout the gold rush. I'm like, what?
That's the thing now? That came out of nowhere
But the gold rush was nowhere near the Golden Palace where you found Golurk. And what volcano?
Yeah.
What volcano?
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I don't think there's ever been, and I'm sure someone will tell us that there is a volcano in Unova, but I don't ever recall.
No.
It's not as obvious as Hoenn.
Or, Sinnoh with the big mountain in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. Bit bizarre. Anyway, so they end up outside. The Pokemon hunters and all their Pokemon are there. The Urshifu turn up and save the day, which, fine, whatever. One note that I do have that I've never seen this anywhere in Pokemon games or the Pokemon anime is they state that they're going to take the Pokemon away from the Pokemon hunters, and after a time, they'll release them back into the wild.
Do they say that?
They say that. I wrote it down because I've never heard it before, which kind of makes sense because, it's the same with Team Rocket. You would have to, let's say you arrest Team Rocket, you send them to jail. What do you do with the Pokemon? You can't send the Pokemon to the equivalent of jail, can you? You would have to rehabilitate those Pokemon.
Yeah.
But then what do you do after you've rehabilitated them?
Do you put them into foster care?
Well, that's the thing. What do you do with these Pokemon? So it was just an interesting thing that opened, as is typical whenever we do anime episodes is, okay, I know you just saying that to kind of move the plot along, but that opens up a world of implications that I don't think you're willing to address or will ever address, because if these the whole thing about Pokemon is the bond between Pokemon and trainers. Those Pokemon could have grown up with the Pokemon hunters for decades.
Well, we kind of saw it with Meowth. He was willing to turn his life around and be like, I don't want to be evil anymore. We understand him, so we get that voiced, but do other Pokemon think like that?
Well, potentially. For all we know, these Pokemon that are used by the hunters don't want to live that life. They want to move away. They want to go back into the wild or be with competent or nice or well-meaning.
But the thing
Pokemon
is, with
trainers.
Actual animal rehabilitation, you can't release them all.
No, you can't.
Because they're not, some of them just aren't fit to live in the wild anymore. They wouldn't fit in with their herd or whatever else. They wouldn't. So is there just a place somewhere where you have
Potentially.
Ex-con Pokemon.
I don't know. Is that what the Safari Zone is? Maybe that's what the Safari Zone is.
You got it. You got it.
All the Pokemon that nobody wants. Which is why there's such a mix of like angry Pokemon that you can't battle. You either have to bait or throw rocks at because they are so broken. Maybe that's what.
And that's why they're all rares, because they've all been taken off hunters from across the globe.
There you go.
There you go.
Nailed it. Overall, I did enjoy the episode, but I feel like there's a better story that could have been written.
Yeah, I think this is a lot supposed to be like Go showing that he doesn't need Ash through a lot of this. Which is fair until the point where it's like, but we're still going to get Pikachu to use his electric, despite the fact that Go almost definitely has an electric Pokemon somewhere.
He does, he's caught enough. Like, this is another example of, like you said, split them up.
Yeah.
Chloe's one area, Go's another area, and Ash is another area. And then you have your 3 different stories as well, which would be quite nice. And then you don't have to try and service all the main characters. You could then go, okay, this episode is about this character, and we get to see their strengths and weaknesses. Like, could have worked. I would have liked to have seen that, I think. Just going on this mission on his own and proving that actually he is competent in his own way. And even though he's been set up to fail, he finds a way around it and he figures it out.
Yeah. I would love to see that payoff of like, we don't expect you to pass.
Yeah.
I don't think it will.
No, I don't think it will either. No, I don't think, to be fair, this won't be addressed again.
No.
Like, it'll just be on to the next one in a couple of weeks.
Which is a shame, because I want to know what the scales are about. I want to know why. No, you need them. What did they do?
Yeah, I want to see if, we get the end of the season and he's in Team Mew and he goes, do you remember when you did this, you did this, you did this? This is why you've done it.
Yeah.
This is the culmination of the episodes that you've seen. Because then the great thing about those episodes is you don't need to wrap them up in a neat little bow at the end of the episode, which is part of the problem with Pokemon being a weekly serialized content, is that then you could have leftover threads because at the end it pays off in some way. But of course, we're not going to see that, are we? Which is unfortunate.
Sad times.
Should we move on to the Blue episode?
Sure.
Which is episode 33, Mad About Blue.
2 idiots like blue Pokemon, and then our gang follow them around. Like, the entire gang is not relevant to this episode.
No, they're not. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, because it starts off with them finding a blue Voltorb, which, okay, right.
Which made me laugh, because I've just come off the back of an episode going, why didn't Go catch the shiny? And then at the start of the episode, he catches a shiny.
Yeah. So he catches the blue Voltorb. A blue connoisseur, for lack of a better word, turns up.
Blue fanatic.
Blue fanatic, that's a better word. Then we go to a blue museum, and listeners, I kid you not, it is literally just a museum of pictures of blue Pokemon.
Yep.
That is it.
And then we have like 10 minutes of them imagining what this Brion does.
Yeah. And then you get another...
There's the blue cafe.
The blue cafe. And then
the blue marble suite thing with the backstory of the Frogadier and the Vanillite that love each other very much. And I'm just like,
what is this?
This doesn't have anything to do with anything.
It's like, this is the definition of a filler episode.
Except for you can't consider it filler because there's now a blue Voltorb.
There's now a blue Voltorb that might come back at some point. So we have these 2 blue fanatics falling out. And what I did like is they decided to settle it in the only way that they could settle it, where they put on blindfolds, they send out blue Pokemon.
And touch it with one finger and guess what it is.
Yeah. What an episode. I really haven't got very many notes. Team Rocket's in it for some reason as well.
Oh, but the Team Rocket's in it to make Wobbuffet not come out of its Pokeball, which was a good gag. I did like the fact that Wobbuffet was so put off by these 2 fanatics that it's just like, you know what? Nah.
No, because we get Meowth dressing up as
Wobbuffet at one point.
For one reason.
Has got a great gag in it, though, where they do the full, like, Team Rocket motto, and then Wobbuffet's ball just drops to the side and it still refuses to come back. And they're like, it's just not the same without it.
It's not the same.
And then they blast off and they're like, oh, we're blasting off a bin. Wobbuffet. Okay, we'll do it ourselves.
So all that just for a gag.
I'll take it.
Yeah. It's probably one of the weaker episodes I've seen this entire season, which is unfortunate.
Do you think it's weaker than those 2-part episodes we get occasionally?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Because at least with those 2-part episodes, they've almost acknowledged, okay, we have an idea here, but we can't stretch it out to a full 20 minutes, so we'll just do 2 shorter episodes.
They should have done that here.
Yes. Yeah, if that had been this episode where the blue thing was just one half of an episode that wasn't tied in, it was just shorter, I would have accepted it more. But there was a lot of just nothing in this episode of just no real progression. Like I say, Ash and Go are non-factors.
And Chloe's here. Why is Chloe here?
Wait, Chloe was here as well.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
How irrelevant they are.
Wow, okay. Yeah, so...
Because they turn around at one point, it's like, oh, they like Chloe because Chloe's got blue in her uniform. I'm like,
oh, yes.
Ash has an entire vest on.
Yes, of blue, yeah. And they even point it out. They're like, they have arrows over Chloe's... yeah.
Weird episode.
Very, very weird episode. Conor, are you up for playing a game?
Oh, in person. I get to read your face if you read these.
My face.
I don't know if it'll help, but
I guess we'll find out, won't we? Right. Perfect. In front of me, I have 3 Pokemon with 3 Pokedex entries each. But Conor, can you spot the fake entry? Now, there is a bit of a theme here, but the theme only...
Better not be blue.
It is blue. But the first Pokemon is Voltorb, so technically it's red, I'm going off the fact it was blue in the episode. So, Pokedex entry number 1. Usually found in power plants, easily mistaken for a Pokeball. They have zapped many people. Pokedex entry number 2. Voltorb loves to roll around. Unfortunately, this often leads to bumps, causing it to self-destruct. And the 3rd and final Pokedex entry. Voltorb is extremely sensitive. It explodes at the slightest of shocks. It is rumored that it was first created when a Pokeball was exposed to a powerful pulse of energy.
I have just done a video about Voltorb.
Oh, right, okay.
So I am pretty sure. So the 3rd one I think is correct, and the 1st one is very close to a real Pokedex entry.
Okay.
So with that being said, I'm going to go with the 2nd one.
You're right.
Okay.
Well done. Right. 1 of 3. Oh, no.
I had literally just done an episode about Pokeballs and Pokemon that look like Pokeballs, so I read through all of them.
Wow. Okay. Well done. So that was an easy one. So hopefully this next one is a bit more difficult. The second Pokemon is Duot.
Do what? Do what, mate?
Do what? So Pokedex entry number 1. By the way, I've never heard of this word before, so...
Okay.
Shell chop techniques differ from one Duot to another.
Shell chop.
Shell chop.
It chops with its shell.
Right, okay. So shell chop techniques differ from one Duot to another. It never neglects maintaining its shell chops. Pokedex entry number 2. Its scalp chops are unique. This is so difficult to say. Scalp chop. Pokedex entry number 2. Its scalp chops are unique and irreplaceable. A Duot will forfeit its life rather than lose its scalp chops. Pokedex entry number 3. Its exquisite double shell chop technique is likely the result of daily training, and it can send even masters of the blade fleeing in defeat. Scalp chops.
See, the worst thing is you were like, I don't know this word. I was like, okay, so it's not this one. Oh no, that word's in all of them.
All of them, yeah.
Okay.
It is officially in the Pokedex.
Can I have the first one again?
Sure. Pokedex entry number 1. Scalp chop's techniques differ from one Duot to another. It never neglects maintaining its scalp chops.
I think I've read about the one of it being like fighting with masters of the sword and stuff like that.
Okay.
I feel like that's real. I'm going to go with the first one.
Okay. It's the second one.
It's the second one.
I'm afraid. Yes. A Duot will never forfeit his life. There's nothing about it being unique or anything. I think they are just basically scalp chops that it can find.
Anyway.
Okay,
fair enough. Because it has 1 as an Oshawott and then gets 2 as a Duot.
Yes. The 3rd and final Pokemon is Wobbuffet.
Wow.
Wobbuffet. So Pokedex entry number 1. These are long, by the way. If 2 or more Wobbuffet meet, they will turn competitive and try to outdo the other's endurance. However, they may try to see which one can endure the longest without food. Trainers need to be aware of this habit. Have you seen this one before?
I have.
You know this one.
It's amazing.
No. Okay. Pokedex entry number 2. Wobbuffet does nothing but endure attacks. It won't attack on its own. However, it won't endure an attack on its tail. When that happens, the Pokemon will try to take the foe with it using Destiny Bond.
Interesting.
The third and final Pokedex entry. Wobbuffet's body is immune to all physical attacks. If approached from multiple angles, it will inflate its body, making it easier to protect its tail.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So you know it's not the first one I'm taking.
I know it's not the first one, and I know the tail is very important because obviously there's the theories over the years of like the tail's the actual Pokemon, the rest of it's just a punching bag. Does it inflate? I don't think it inflates. I don't think there's a thing about being attacked from multiple angles. I'm going to go with the third one.
That's correct.
Okay,
well done. 2 or 3. Well done. Was it easier in person? Could you read
not
my face
really?
Or not? No. Okay. I tried to keep a poker face. I tried to keep it as like...
You did it very well.
Thank you very much. So
I think it was harder for you to read in person because I've just sat there going, yeah, this one. I know this one.
Yeah. And they're like the monitor's that far away that I'm like really struggling with my glasses on. I'm really struggling to read that. So I think we did very well there. Should we move on to comments and questions?
Yes.
So we've got one this week from YouTube from Gym Leader JC. Which Pokemon games would you like to see get a remake, sequel, or Legends game on the Switch? Which we've kind of already spoken about.
We're good at this. Johto in either instance.
Yeah.
Unova in Legends. I don't want a remake of Unova.
No,
I think Black and White stand up. In fact, I would either like to see Unova Legends as in a prequel, or I want Black and White 3.
I'd agree with that. It still amazes me that they don't do more sequels. Like they did Black and White 2. Like for me, I think that's almost one of the fall downs of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Is it wasn't a sequel. It's like a...
But it kind of is, but it isn't.
Well, this is the confusing part because...
Red and Blue have already done their thing, except from the fact that Team Rocket's still about, and you still go through the same story they did.
Giovanni's doing the exact... It's like, Giovanni's up to his old thing again. He's doing the exact same thing. Like, they, for me, should have been sequels.
Yeah.
Because then I think they would have...
They could have run alongside the Johto games. You see like Neo Team Rocket, which was like, I forget their names now, but like Proton and stuff like that were the chiefs of it. So you can see what was going on in Kanto's side whilst everything was happening in Johto. That would have been really cool.
It would have been, well, it could have done that, or it could have been set in the time between Gen 1 and Gen 2, because is it 3 years between?
Something like that, yeah.
Like you could have had it somewhere in between where you get to see some of the changes that are happening, such as gym leaders moving on, Elite Four changing as well. You know, and you could have filled in the blank of, okay, what actually happened to Red after, because he left the Elite Four to the champion to train, didn't he? He wasn't beaten. That's not why Lance is suddenly the champion. He didn't beat Red. Red just went off to do his own training. So you could have seen the progression almost.
I don't know. I think it would have been funny if you like beat up Red at the end and you're the reason he went to Mount Silver.
That would have been quite. That would have been.
Everybody thought, he's just a master. He's gone up there to train. It's like, no, I put him in isolation because he was so ashamed of how bad I beat him.
Like, I can't see Game Freak being that brave. Like, Red is something that they
Cowards.
almost... Red is this trainer that they hold on a pedestal, unfortunately.
It's because the fans do, to be fair.
Yeah, they do. They do, because he's the original, he's unique.
There are still some people who will argue that Gold never beat Red. And it's like...
Really? It's literally in the games.
But you did it, but Gold never did.
Right,
it's like, whatever.
Whatever. Like, Gold beat Red. Like, that's the
canonical ending as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, agreed. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can add to this that you haven't just discussed or we didn't discuss earlier on. I guess, like, what Pokemon games would you like? So I would like to see remakes of all the previous games, but I would like long enough to have passed that the originals kind of are unplayable or they don't hold up, or it's an opportunity for them to do almost, okay, this is the definitive version. I don't want to see what they did with BDSP.
It's difficult because I think everything from Gen 3 onwards does hold up.
It does work quite well. Like, I've recently played the 3DS games and they hold up. And Gen 5, I haven't played Gen 5 in probably a year and a half, 2 years, but I don't remember playing that thinking,
Gen 5's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, as far as pixel game, I'd almost argue that they should have stuck with pixels.
Oh, agreed. I think, have you ever played Octopath Traveler?
No, you keep bringing this up. I need to play this game.
The definitive modern day pixel experience, in my opinion. And that's kind of where we probably should have done with Pokemon. But I think the cat's out of the bag now. They can't go back to pixel games for mainstream. The mainline games, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they could, though.
They could.
Because you consider, like, again, we were talking about fan games earlier in that. Radical Red is based on Fire Red, but has all the stuff from
everything, all the quality of life stuff.
All the quality of life stuff, all the recent mechanics like Dynamax and all that kind of stuff. I'd kind of quite like to see like an unmake.
Like demakes.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, demakes. Yeah.
So I'd love to see a pixel version of X and Y.
Have you seen the Game Boy versions of Scarlet and Violet?
I've seen some people make their own.
I'd be happy with that.
I think Clavel looks a bit weird, but
I haven't seen him as that. That'd be interesting. But like, they could do those as apps on most smartphones of demakes of certain Pokemon games. Like, I imagine it'd take a lot less time and effort to do them compared to the mainline games on modern day consoles. They had
so many tricks and stuff in place to compress those games down and get a lot of animation out of moving a couple of pixels.
Yeah.
Like, they got really, really good at it, and I'd love to see them go back to their strengths, really.
Yeah. Personally, as well, I would like to see another version of Stadium. I would like, personally, and I don't know how people feel about this, but it almost feels to me that maybe the main game should just be a solo experience. And then, like Pokemon Home, you have... He's a free version of Pokemon Stadium, and you can bring in the Pokemon, you can tweak them, you can change them, you can adapt them.
I would like to see Pokemon Stadium, but I think it needs to be Showdown. I think it needs to be you just generate your Pokemon.
As someone that plays Showdown every now and again, it looks like absolute ass.
Oh, yes.
I hate how it looks. I hate how it functions. But like, in terms of just being able to go, okay, I'm going to create a quick team, done and dusted, let's battle. It's easy. The fact that you can just choose random battles and it picks a team for you, like it is the definitive Pokemon online battle experience. Like, I would love to get into competitive battling on Scarlet and Violet. Problem is, I barely have enough time to play the base game as it is.
Yeah, so you're not going to be sat there in all the 7-star rage trying to farm an ability patch so that you can get the right ability on your Pokemon.
Yeah.
And again, people will argue, but it's getting easier. Yes.
Oh, it is. It is getting easier.
That doesn't mean it's easy.
No, exactly. You still need a lot of spare time to dedicate to something that you could spend all this time creating a team. And by the time you've done that, the meta's changed. And all that time you've invested.
And the thing is all you need to do is have Pokemon tradable in and out if they've been traded in.
Yeah.
But if they've been generated, they can't go out.
Yeah,
done.
Exactly. Make it as easy as possible for people to get into that competitive scene. Because while I do love Showdown, the problem is that there's no... It's a dream. It ain't going to happen. But I would love to have a team that is good enough to go some way in a competition. But you can't really do that with Showdown. You couldn't rock up to Pokemon Worlds with, well, I've never actually played the Switch version, but on Showdown, I win most of my fights. Like, can I jump in? Like, it's not going to happen, unfortunately. So I'd love to see a competitive format that is easily accessible
and with better animations.
Yes. Oh yeah, like the
like, bring the announcer back.
The announcer. Oh yeah, I remember the announcer in Stadium. It was fantastic.
Because I'll tell you what, the problem I have with Scarlet and Violet is I don't want to watch Worlds in Japan.
Yeah.
Just be a bunch of kids fighting on a school battlefield.
Oh, it's disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah, massively.
Yeah. So obviously with doing the cage lock, I'm kind of in that point where every time you fight, you don't even get a choice of where you fight.
No, you fight on the school battlefield. That's it.
And there's like 3 people cheering. Like, that's a massive step down from Sword and Shield being in a stadium.
Yeah.
Like, this stadium format is just the perfect arena for gym fights, for competitions. Like, bring that back. And the problem is, Scarlet and Violet haven't got anything that can do that. Like, you look at the Elite Four, where you're fighting the Elite Four, it's a blue box.
Yeah.
And then the top of which I have a theory about that.
Go on.
I think that those blue boxes originally, their vision was to have something similar to the Dynamax raids. You have the crystal and you can see things going on. I think that might have been their original plan and they just ran out of time, or they realized it was too difficult and we just got basic blue boxes.
Yeah, it was very disappointing. It's one of my least favorite Elite Four. Not the characters. The characters are great, but the actual fight felt really underwhelming because you're just in a room.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. So I think that wraps up comments and questions. But as always, if you've got a comment or question, you can reach us by leaving a comment on our podcast on YouTube, by emailing goldenrodpod@gmail.com, or by leaving it on our Discord channel. Time for the plugs. What have you got coming up, Conor?
I've got a really interesting video coming up. So
okay.
I wrote a script last night. I had an AI write a script for me.
Wait, what?
I had an AI write
break that down. That is wow.
So there's an AI called ChatGPT, which you can access for free online, and you can ask it a bunch of questions, and it is like talking to a person. It's not like it used to be where it gets racist within 3 seconds. It's genuinely really good back and forth, and you can ask it to. I just asked it, can you write me a script? And I gave it the thing of I want you to be Professor Turo, who's traveled to the future, or AI Professor Turo, who's traveled to the future, and tell me that you've kind of created the artificial Pokemon once you got there. And it gave me a full breakdown of this is what I did. And it got really in-depth as well of I'm not sure AI is really good for the future. The singularity occurred, and humanity and what we've done with Pokemon is really rough. And is this really the right way to go? Maybe the past shouldn't end up this. Wow. Amazing. So the idea that I've got an AI to write AI Turo,
that's it.
It's a cool video. I'm looking forward to this one.
Wow. Okay. I'm looking forward to So, okay, I'm not going to ask you more on that because I feel like it might spoil what you're trying to do.
It's not an outright theory. It's more of a story than I've ever made before, but I've wanted to do these kind of things before. I still want to do an episode about Officer Jenny being corrupt.
I love that. Yeah.
And the idea of that one was to do Officer Jenny, but silhouetted and have it all voice acted and stuff like that of her admitting her past. Yeah. So this is something I really want to work towards this year, and this seemed like the perfect way to start that.
I love that. Right. Okay. Wow. That's absolutely fantastic. In terms of what I've got coming up, to be honest with you, we're having a break over Christmas. It's kind of delayed a few things, so I am going to get around to editing this challenge video at some point. I will.
It's been 2 months in the making.
I know. Conor can see my 2023 plans that I've got, and one of them is 6 Scarlet and Violet challenge videos, one every 2 months. That's doable. I'm gonna get it done. It's going to be out this month, but Christmas being unwell and then time just ran away from me, unfortunately. And that's the show for this week. If you've gotten this far, you're just a top dollar, aren't you? Conor, where can we find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel at Captain Fidget, or on Twitter at CapFidget.
Perfect. And I'm Ben. You can find me as Professor Hoenn Gaming on YouTube and Professor Hoenn on Twitter and Twitch. As for the Goldenrod Podcast, you can find us on the usual platforms. Search for Goldenrod Podcast on YouTube or on your usual podcast app. Leave a like on YouTube or a 5-star review if you're listening as a podcast. We'll be back next Friday for another week of Pokemon podcast content.
See ya!